some, motherhood is an accident, and not always a welcome one. For some, biological motherhood is impossible. For some, mothers weren't all that nice. For some, motherhood under the very best of circumstances is still less than a bed of roses. And for some who have lost their mothers, this can be a sad day. For some mothers, even when their children disappoint, like Judas of Iscariot, their love does not cease. How do we respond to a love that breaks our hearts? We're going to read from Luke chapter 24, verses 13 through 35 today. This is the walk to Emmaus story. Now on that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and talking with each other about all the things that had happened. While they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself came near and went with them, but their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And he said to them, "What are you discussing with each other while you walk along?" They stood still looking sad. Then one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answered him, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have taken place there in these days?" He asked them, "What things?" They replied, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how our chief priests and leaders handed him over to be condemned to death and crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. Yes, and besides all this, it is now the 3rd day since these things took place. Moreover, some women of our group astounded us. They were at the tomb early this morning, and they did not find his body there. So they came back and they told us that he had indeed seen a vision of angels who said that he was alive. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they did not see him." Then he said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have declared. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and then enter into his glory?" Then beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them the things about himself in all the scriptures. As they came near the village to which they were going, he walked ahead as if he were going on. But they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it's almost evening, and the day is now nearly over." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scriptures to us?" That same hour, they got up and returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 and their companions gathered together. They were saying, "The Lord has risen indeed, and he has appeared to Simon." Then they told what had happened on the road, and how he had been made known to them in the breaking of bread. The word of God, the people of God.
Thanks be to God.
One of my favorite gospel stories is the one of the 2 disciples leaving Jerusalem, following the crucifixion of Jesus, and traveling to Emmaus, a village about 7 miles away. Their hearts were broken. Their hearts were crushed. Their hopes and dreams had been destroyed. Now, how do we respond when our hearts are broken? A dating relationship, wayward children, an unfaithful spouse, the promise of a raise or a promotion goes bad, and we feel like Clark W. Griswold. We didn't get our bonus, and we've already spent the money, and our hearts are broken. We take a risk to allow ourselves to get caught up in a vision of hope, only to have our hearts broken time and time again. And these 2 disciples share a great hope, only to lose it all, having witnessed the death of the one they have come to love and trust, one of their dearest friends, the one they believe to be the Messiah, and their hearts are broken. They search their minds and hearts only to discover how it could have happened. How could it have been prevented? Surely there could have been another way. You know the feeling after a loss, don't you? It's that shoulda, coulda, woulda stage. But for the disciples, and probably for you, there was no other way. And what the disciples have witnessed is not failure, but a necessary and inevitable part of furthering God's reign, a range larger and broader than they can possibly fathom. Fear sets in when we think we have lost hope. To feel fear is not unusual, and sometimes it's a necessary and life-saving experience. Fear alerts us to the dangers that could harm us. However, our fears dictate all our actions. They can. And when we let our fears dictate all our actions, we can become paralyzed and incapable of thinking clearly or living faithfully because we're always in fear. As we learned several weeks ago, the disciples, victims of their own fears, they were behind closed and locked doors when Jesus appeared to them. Once the reality of his living presence was clear, their fears gave way to courage. Ever since Jesus appeared to his disciples, Christians have discovered that there's no reason to fear when one is in the presence of God. To walk with God not only rebukes our fears and sends them away, but it also increases our courage. God was walking side by side with the disciples to Emmaus, and they didn't even know it. To walk with God is to be assured of direction, guidance, and strength for your daily journey. What do we have to fear when we are in God's presence and care? Nothing at all. We don't have anything to fear. Now, this does not mean that we will be spared discouragement, disease, or death itself. It does mean that we will never, ever be alone. We'll never be alone. It means that we will be given the strength to meet the demands of our daily life. It means that we will know the joy and hope of living in the presence of God in every circumstance of life. Are you overwhelmed? Are you stressed? Do you have anxiety? Are you grieving? He will give you the courage. He will give you the strength. He will give you the hope if you will open your eyes and you will walk with Him and talk with Him and see Him for who He really is. The two disciples were joined by one who seemed to be a stranger. He asked them what they were discussing, and they replied, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have taken place there in these days?" Now, there's much more to the story, and we just read that story, including their discovery that it is Jesus who's joined them. But here's the point. Whenever the preacher says, "Here's the point," you need to listen. Here's the point. And it's an assumption which we all make, that everyone is caught up in what we are caught up in. We assume that others have had the same experience we've had, that they know the same things that we know. The truth is this, that those around us may be living a totally different world than we are, living in a totally different world than we're living in. That's one reason we added the word witness to the membership pledge that people take when they join a United Methodist Church. Will you be loyal to Christ and the United Methodist Church through your prayers, your presence, your gifts, your service, and can I get a witness? Yes, your witness. Will you be loyal through your witness? We need to share the good news about our faith in church. We must not assume that they know what we know. Most of those who did not attend church over the past year were not, hear this, they were not invited. How many people have you invited to church? Okay, I asked you to bring someone to church today, last Sunday, to bring someone to church with you. Who did it? It proves a point, doesn't it? You didn't make an effort to do that. Did you make an effort to go out and reach someone and tell them about the good news and the glory of God? Did you tell somebody about your wonderful church and what's happening in your church? Did you tell them about that? Have you invited them to your small group and to your Sunday school class and to our children's ministry and to the factory? Have you told them about it? Do they even know where you go to church? Do they have to ask you? There's a point there, and I'm getting to it. When someone is struggling with life, we need to be proactive. The church has to be proactive. We must not assume we know why somebody's struggling or having a hard time. Let us reach out and inquire. And if we can help, let us share with the other our journey or resources we know that might help. We could have assured the two disciples in Luke 24 that while their world had been turned upside down, there were also many in Jerusalem who had no idea what Jesus or they had been through. Had no idea. So let's be proactive in our faith. You know, life today is so different from when I grew up. We had nothing when I was growing up. Nothing at all. But we were happy, and I was happy. We lived in a single wide trailer that my grandmother described as being chicken mess brown color. People would ask, well, where do Ray and Rose and their son Stephen live? Well, they live on Poor Farm Road. That's where we live. On Poor Farm Road, just past the 7 pecan trees. We have pecan trees in South Carolina. I think y'all have pecan trees. You go to the store, you buy a beans instead of a can. We buy a can. And so the 7 pecan trees, they live on the other side of that farm in that chicken mess brown colored trailer. That's where I grew up. And my parents worked really, really hard. And they instilled that in me. From the time I was 14 until now, I've been working. I worked in the summer. I earned enough money to buy my first car, to pay the insurance on that car. When I went out to eat, I didn't have Mom and Daddy's money. I had to pay for my own food. And so I'd go to the Venus Pancake House. And back then, for $1.99, Jimmy Wilson, $1.99, you could get pancakes, sausage, bacon, eggs, grits. I didn't get orange juice. I got a large sweet tea. Because on the 8th day, God created sweet tea. You know that, right? So, it was different. And we slowed down. And we enjoyed life. And we actually worked in the flower beds. And we didn't hire Jorge to do our grass. We did it ourselves. I knew how to change light bulbs and put spark plugs in the lawnmower and change the oil in the car. I knew how to do those things. I knew how to wash the car. I didn't have to have a punch card for Stroll and Shine. I knew how to wash my own car. Do your kids know how to do that? Do you know how to do that? It's the principle of it. They instilled that in me. They took time to come out of the busyness of the chaos. And things were busy then too. It was just a different world than we live in now. We live in a culture of hurry and convenience. We don't take time to come out of the noise. The disciples had taken time to leave Jerusalem, all the hubbub there, all the noise. They got away from the crucifixion and all that had happened, and they were walking to Emmaus quietly, and this figure appears to them. They come out of the noise and the chaos, and when Jesus revealed himself to them, they had a new response, a new understanding, burning hearts, a sudden change of plans. The original need to be in Emmaus seems irrelevant. The greater need, even late in the evening after a long day's walk, is to hurry the 7 miles back to Jerusalem to share the story, to be together with the other disciples, to see what this new thing might mean for all of them. These 2 disciples here in this church, they moved from grief, hopelessness, despair, confusion, to energy and burning hearts and urgency. And they were excited and they couldn't wait to see the other believers and rejoice. Do you get that way on Sundays? Can't wait to get to church and see my friends and fellowship and be in the house of God. Well, all of these people for some reason forgot. Think about it. You will be blessed because you are here today, rejoicing. It's beautiful. You could be at the lake. Yeah, you could be fishing. I could be fishing right now. You could. But you chose to come and honor God and honor your mama and your grandmama and be with her today. And you're not even going to look at your watch, are you? You're not. He turned their world upside down. And now they were excited. They had been given a resurrected love and hope from the resurrected King in the flesh. Can you imagine? How do we respond to a love that resurrects us from that broken heart? Our lives can be full, even overfull, of our own expectations and assumptions, shattered when those expectations are broken, confused, trying to make sense of loss and grief. And then suddenly, unexpectedly, from a surprising source, we are redeemed. We are not part of a church that practices spiritual malpractice. That means offering Jesus the healer without the people, the places, the processes to bring hope and healing. We offer support and visitation and small groups and Stephen ministry and many other things that bring hope. And hope has a name, and you know what that name is. Jesus. Say it again. Jesus. Jesus. He offers the hope for the world. Can we welcome the stranger? Can we feel our hearts burning within us? Do we want to hear more? The prophets tell us that the Lord's ways are not our ways. And if we will see beyond our circumstances and go beyond our present thought patterns, we will begin to have a vision of what He's doing in our lives, what He's doing in our church, what He's doing in our community. We will have that vision. We will be able to see. I'm so glad that my wife loves someone more than me. And she had a first love even before me. That's Jesus. I'm so glad that she chose to see him before she saw me. And I'm so glad you've done the same. And I think I can say that about everybody in this place today.